was really happy for the kids. I thought that they played really well. Happy for the kids and the coaches, on the staff. They executed the game plan, and I was really pleased for the outcome. Obviously, I thought we played some great complementary football to win that game, and we're really looking forward to this week. With that, I'll open up to questions.
On the left there, Isaiah.
You've now had 4 games of being back in college. You've gone against some pretty good offensive minds and Sark and Lincoln Riley. Has anything kind of surprised you, taken you aback? And obviously you kind of also changed the way that you defended the pass this week compared to week 2.
Well, I think every game's different, we've already talked about the strength of schedule that we had to start off with, and everybody's fitting into their own role, and you saw some players really excel in the last game, and I kind of enjoy listening to everybody's comments on how many times you pressure and everything else, because a lot of them are wrong. But I think that we played really well in situational football against SC. You saw it at the end of the half, and you saw it at the end of the game. But people don't understand that there's actual calls that you call in those situations, so you can get a sack before halftime, or you can stop the passing game going right down the field on you when you're in there in the fourth quarter. So, I've been doing this for 40 years, and Sark's a good offensive coordinator, and he's got a really good quarterback, and Lincoln Riley has another good quarterback. I mean, that's just the challenges of college football, and it's the challenges of pro football, period. So I think that we've adapted and played what we thought was best to win the game, because at the end of the week we just want to be 1-0, just like this week. We just want to be 1-0. We're not going to get too high. We're not going to get too low, because it's a constant grind for the season, and it's a constant climb. So yesterday we had a really good practice, and I think it was better than last week's Tuesday practice, and that's our goal. Today we need to have another better practice. Just keep stacking them. And, I'm really excited where we're at and where we're going.
Stay on the left, Ryan.
I have a couple, but first, I guess, what do you think made the pass rush so effective against USC, and how much does that game plan maybe change against an opponent from like a spread drop back pass team like USC to a Minnesota team that probably tries to run the ball more?
Well, credit goes to the players, first of all. I mean, they were playing really well, and not just the first 4 who I thought dominated up front there in the first half, and really throughout the game. And like everybody's, talking about Jay Stu's pass rush, which is well-deserved. They should talk about that. But Demo had some great rushes too, which became hurries where he's taking tackles and throwing them in the quarterback's lap. And Mason and KG together, that's the best that I've seen them, play. And as long as we come to every Saturday with that mentality, I think there's a lot of good things to come for those 4. I thought our inside backers played their best game, and Shug played his best game opposite of Will. And, we just got to keep getting better and keep developing players. I've told you all about the depth before. We need to keep getting this depth better, and, it's an exciting time. So, is it different? Sure, it's different. It's a different game, different quarterback, more max protection, those type of things. They're going to want to establish the run early with PJ, and it's going to be a great challenge for us.
My second question was about Shug. I guess, how would you evaluate maybe his growth curve from like game 1 to this past game?
Well, I mean, statistically, you can just see how much it's grown, and he's accepted the challenge, and he's just going to get more and more confident. And the biggest thing is you can tell he's having fun out there just playing football. And, made a big hit in that game, SC's game, and, I had a couple pass breakups. And, a corner's a tough job. It's like, you got to have the old, mind of a goldfish. 10 seconds, you got to forget about it and go play the next play, because if not, you'll get exposed. And I think he's done a nice job of doing that.
Coming right here, Andrew.
You mentioned Josiah. If you wouldn't mind speaking about what you have seen from him.
I've seen it since I've been here. I mean, he's had a tremendous spring and training camp, and the one thing you can count on with him, he is one of the hardest workers on the field, period. And, I heard Sharon talk about his leadership skills, and, he was, as a transfer, almost voted as a captain, and that says a lot about who he is and how he is as a player. And I'm really happy for him because his hard work is paying off. And, you can see it every day. And, I just said, keep practicing like this. He has no ceiling. He'll just keep going.
He looks like an NFL player to you, yes?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that at the end of the year, but I'd take him.
On the right, Aaron.
What did you learn about your personnel after the loss to Texas?
What's that?
What did you learn about your players and personnel after the Week 2 loss to Texas?
I mean, it was a really good team, and I think that it was a tougher fight mentally with the personnel because it's the first game they've lost in a long, long time. But I think that they're a confident group of players, and we have some great leadership, with Macari and Will and on down the line, Mason, KG, Demo, Stu, Ernie. I started talking about those inside backers. I thought they played their best game with Ernie and Jay Sean. And I know USC's lineman and tight end knows Jay Sean now. So that was a good way to start the game.
Right here on the right, Charles.
Yeah, Sharon said that you kind of predicted Will Johnson's pick six right before it happened, before that drive started. What did you see from Will leading up to that, and how was he able to make that play?
Well, I just talked to him about it. I could see, where they were going with some different adjustments, from what pressures they thought we were going to run, and, we gave them, we zagged when they thought we were going to zig, So there's punches and counter punches to every game, and I just said he's getting ready to bait him for one here, and I told Will that too. Now, all credit just because that's like saying, hey, I bet Aaron Judge is going to hit a home run. You know what I mean? I mean, it's all credit to Will and how he plays and how he studies the game, how calm of a player he is on the field, and calm and confident. And, he studies so much tape, he could probably tell the receivers what route they're going to run before they run them.
Stand right here, Austin.
Wink, you mentioned people may not always know what they're looking at when they talk about blitzing and bringing pressure. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the situational stuff, but what do you think it is that people maybe miss that isn't obvious?
I think it's a narrative that people have wanted to create, with myself personally, and that's fine because it keeps every offense up all night. There's different things that, just because you send a nickel and you drop an end, that's still a four-man rush. You understand? And I'm just saying whatever, simulated you run, but all the great people and all the different, I don't know what they are, where you get all the information from that have all these percentages, they're wrong. So just keep writing and believing and reading and keep doing all that stuff you want to do. It's just flat out wrong. But that's like I said, it really helps us.
On the left there, Chris.
Coach, last year Minnesota had a little bit of success running the ball early. Do you ever look back to last year's tapes on how teams?
Oh yeah. You study that.
Okay.
Yeah, you study that, and because you're going to see the difference. They have a lot of returners on offense, so that's a really good tape for you to study too. And they had some success running the ball against us, and like I said, they run the ball well.
And then the back end mistakes, are those communications issues?
There's some communication errors to it, yeah, and then there's a couple things that we should have made the play and we just didn't make the play, but that happens, and.
Go to the left there, Isaiah.
You've had 4 games with Jay Sean. What good have you seen from him, and where do you see him improving?
The number one thing that I see with him is when he hits somebody, it's probably, when you ask that player, it's the hardest they've ever been hit, because you can just see it on tape. And he sets the tempo for your defense when he does it. And I think that he's just going to keep growing in this system. He understands it better every week. And, I think BJ, Brian Jean-Marie, his coach, I think he's done a great job with those guys on the inside, and you're going to just see him keep getting better.
On the left, Alejandro.
You guys use Quinton Johnson as a linebacker, I think, in dime packages. What makes him the right person for that, and I guess what does his future look like moving forward?
What does his future look like?
I guess like positionally, like is he repping more linebackers?
Wherever we need him. And he has that skill set that he can play wherever you need him. And he's smart. I think, we talked about, is Josiah going to play in the NFL? I think Q has a tremendous chance to, I don't know how he's going to get there, but once he gets there, that he could have a long career in the NFL because of how smart he is with football. So he knows the spots, and it's really cool to see.
Stand on the left, Ryan.
A little bit of a curiosity question here, but it seems like there's been a lot of discourse, at least at the NFL level, about a lot of too high looks, limiting offense. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, and have you noticed a lot of that at the college level as well?
It really doesn't matter what I think about it. It really doesn't. Wink thinks this. They're not going to do that. I think that you just line up and play football, and it's something for them to talk about, I guess.
On the right, Tony.
Yeah, earlier you were asked a question about defending USC versus Minnesota, and you talked about each game plan is unique, but I wondered about the offense. It seems that your offense, Michigan's offense, it seems that they might be a little more one-dimensional. The plan is a little more one-dimensional, I guess. What have you seen behind closed doors that maybe were not?
There we go again with that narrative, though. You know what I mean? It's like, do you realize what happened this past weekend in the NFL? The Baltimore Ravens ran the ball 45 times. I think they threw it 12, and they beat the Cowboys pretty bad, right, until the end of the game, right? But that's just the way the league is. The Saints, Derek Carr threw for, 12 passes in his first game, I think, and 16 in the second. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure, but I know it was a low amount of passes. They were 2-0, right? Look what Washington just did to Cincinnati. So the pendulum's swinging, either way you want to look at it. And I think that with our offense and with our offense, it can do, and our defense and our special teams, we have the flexibility in our scheme to do whatever we need to do to win that game that week when we prepare for it. And I think that that sometimes the narrative about Alex, okay. One thing about being old, I do have experience, and I've seen quarterbacks take over an offense and run with the offense, and I think that's what's going to happen with this guy. I love the kid, so I'm not evaluating anything or anything else offensively because got my hands full where we're at. But I think that there shouldn't be a narrative put on. There shouldn't be any limitations put on him because it's one of those things. Same thing I was talking about with the defense. Every day you just try to get better, and you build it as you go. And what happens is there's overreactions when you have a different schedule than what we've had here in the past. The past few years, right? And you stub your toe, which is Texas, right? But there's an overreaction to it. Bottom line is just come in every week and be 1-0. So whatever it takes.
I guess, sorry, I know that was a lengthy question on my part and answer, but I guess the question was, people keep saying whatever it takes. Clearly this team can run it if that's what it takes. My question is, I don't know, you've seen enough that you can pass it and win that way too.
Yeah, I have full confidence in our offense and Kirk and everybody that's on that side of the ball. And it's, you got to play complementary football to win games. And you're seeing it more now with the new Big Ten. What is it, the Big 18? With West Coast trips and, having West Coast teams come play you here. And it's really turning towards the NFL. You know what I mean? It just every week you just got to be 1-0. Let's just see what happens at the end.
I have 3 more people that we got to get in here quickly. So Angelique.
Wink, you mentioned that bringing up the narrative word again, that the pressure narrative that's been created is wrong. What is the narrative that you've heard, and what out there is wrong?
I don't even want to give credit to it. So I just, it's one of those things that, everybody wants to talk about your pressure rates and everything else, and the people who are keeping count of your pressures don't know the difference between a pressure, a simulated, or a 4-man rush. So That's just where I stand on it.
Because I think someone quoted last week 50%.
It would be like me reading one of your articles and saying you use bad grammar. I'm not very good in English, so it doesn't. You know what I mean? It would be, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what's the difference between a good article and a bad article, you know, or a report or podcast or whatever, you know? So, I mean, it's the same thing, but it's all part of the profession.
If I could follow up, as
Please.
a defensive coordinator, do you appreciate a guy like Max Bredesen?
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, he's a tone setter. Yeah, and especially as a defensive coordinator with experience, because those guys are going the way of the buffalo. Everybody likes those pretty tight ends that don't block anybody, that too slow to be called a wide receiver. So, I mean, but the fullback, he and like you said, it's a tempo setter for the game. Just like I was talking about with Jay-Sean, he is for the offense, you know, and takes pride in it, just like Jay-Sean does. And it's the old school football coach in me love those type of guys.
I think you've got Colston Loveland on line one.
I think that it would be okay to be compared to some of those tight ends in the league, which he's going to be compared to here in a little bit. So
On the left, Clayton.
might be able to date Taylor Swift, who knows?
You mentioned building some of the depth that you guys have. Brandon Hillman and Jimmy Rolder are two guys helping with that. What have you seen from them? And then also just Tommy Doman, how much does he help you guys?
He helped us a lot on Saturday. You know, with those two guys, they're just going to keep climbing. Jimmy's had, you know, he's had a really good year. You know, it's just once again the battle with the little dings and nicks, and he's fought through those well. For me this year, I think he has, and you know, just get him fully healthy. It'll be fun to watch because he's growing and he's getting it, and he has really good ability. I mean, he can play the game, and B. Hill he's just going to keep getting better and better and better. He's like a heat-seeking missile back there. He likes contact, and he falls into that old school type football player. You know, Brian Dawkins, those type of guys. You know, the way he attacks the football and attacks going after the football when somebody's running with it and everything else. So he's going to be fun to watch here next few years.
My last question, Lise.
Yeah, you spoke about Jay-Sean and some of the other linebackers. What have you seen from Ernest so far, especially from more of a leadership perspective?
He's led since I've been here. Ern has, and he'll be the first to tell you that it didn't start off well for him here, but you can just really see him getting comfortable and playing better in the games, the actual games. And like I said, his best game was SC to date. You know, so I'm really excited. He had a really good practice yesterday too. So whatever it was he needed to do, he did it. He and Brian, he and BJ did.
All right.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.